Yeah. The numbers usually run, as far as the amount we use, is very consistent. We're within 300 to 400 ton, which is pretty darn good. It all depends on the number of storms. We figure about 8 major storms a year, and you can chart it, and we have done it over, I say, 5-6 year periods, and we're always within that window. And like I said, the market value, like Jeff just said, that's what dictates the cost.
So is the price of salt, I see the 2019 actuals are 132,641, is the price of salt has gone up?
That is actually because of pre-purchasing, we were anticipating pre-purchasing for this coming year. Okay, the mayor asked us to pre-purchase some of what we allotted already. Like we committed, usually in the spring of the year, the county will go out to, the city of Platt, all the municipalities in the area, and say, are you guys interested in buying salt? And they go out, they find out how many ton we need, and they get a better price buying in bulk from the distributors. Actually, this is the first year since I've been here, it's American Rock, Salt Normally, it's Cargill that I believe we buy from. But they get the best price. They actually bid it twice to try to get a better price, and I think it went down a little bit, but not much. But ultimately, at the end of the day, yes, we have to buy a certain amount. But what we've been doing is we see what kind of surplus we've had at year's end of the prior year, and we were able to bring it in, and that's why that's down.
Has that been benefiting the taxpayer by adopting that strategy we've been using for the last 2 or 3 years?
That's not for me to say, Mayor. It really isn't. I just know we need to get our work done.
No, but are we getting good prices is what I'm asking.
Are we getting good prices? That's the best price we can get, yes, absolutely. And I think that Jeff said it best. I mean, we ran short, or we were running short one year, and I started having to look for it, and it was substantially higher. I want to say in the tune of about 30%. What we were able to do is I had procured, I shouldn't say procured, but I've got commitments from a couple other municipalities that hadn't met their quota yet, and they were going to give portions of their quota to us if we needed it. We didn't have to go down that road, and we would be able to buy the rest of their salt at the proper rate. But those are the kind of running around things that you have to do sometimes. Waste collection, we'll move on to that. Payroll, again, a little bit of movement within the funds.
To be clear, that's not because we're putting less money for people's salaries. All the salaries add up. It's the way the funds are allocated.
It is, that's correct. It's the way the funds were reallocated between the funds. It was just a massaging of it, moving some things around a little bit here and there. Separation pay, I can't speak to that. I don't know why that was reduced. Typically what we do is we look at the people in our organization, a quick analysis of it, of who could possibly leave, and we try to include that in the budget so it's not a big surprise where if you get a person that leaves. Now there's new employees don't get to walk out the door with separation pay. Most of these are senior employees that have been here a while. There's only a handful of public works that have any sort of accruals that they can cash out on the back end. And it gets less and less every year. Vehicle supplies, that was reduced by 13,000. That is fuel. That's our fuel line for waste collection. Vehicle parts, again, $10,000 is just what it is parts. The big one, the 4440, fees for services. That is the tipping fees that we pay the landfill. The actual, as of today, was 136,000. So we're trending right on course for about $150,000 for the tipping fees this year. We do about 3,000 a week. Moving on, parks and beautification. I see a reduction in the overtime pay in there. We usually don't have a ton of overtime in parks and beautification. Typically, it would be a specialty activity where that particular employee would be working a special event or something of that nature. That's not a huge one. Technical equipment, Those are replacement, that's replacement equipment in the organization. Stuff that we wouldn't capitalize, it'd be a mower, blowers, trimmers, small utility trailers. And we carry an allowance for that every year, so we can stay current on those. Vehicle supplies, again, that's fuel. Fuel's been cut again. And then the big one is 4430. This is always a popular one, is trees. Trees and stumps. These are trees that we cannot take care of at Public Works, and that aren't the responsibility of MLD. I wanna say we did a half dozen. Did you do a half dozen trees this year, contracted out?
This is under 4430?
Yeah, 4430. It also, we went back and forth in last year's budget about how much to put in for trees. We have a lot of old growth trees. We have some really, really tough shaped ones. But we also should be replanting trees too, at the same rate. But it's a number in there, and that's up to you guys' discretion on how much you wanna put in there. But again, if we don't have enough and we have to hire it out, it's gonna have to be a transfer.
How many trees did we plant this year?
0.
How much does that cost?
Depends on the caliper of the tree. I mean, if you're gonna 8-foot spruce, for instance, the last time I checked, it was like $300 a piece, or something of that nature. But I think Matt probably has current with the Saranac River Trail. You could use the unit prices off that job. You can get a real good idea of what trees are worth, because there's a tremendous amount of plantings on that project alone. But it varies. I mean, depends on the species. And, you know, Kogan I think, we have the budget numbers on Kogan?
No, we don't have budget numbers.
Okay, but, yeah.
No, but will the tree planting, that's part of the Kogan project?
That
come out of-
particular one, but what I was asking Andrew is typically, I'm not current with what a planted tree would be, but in a DOT spec job, they would unitize a job. So for every yard of concrete, every tree you plant, they have a price for it.
So the design engineer does the design, and then they give us all of the units for the entire job, and they break it down on what the cost should be per unit. So when you put the job out to bid, you have a comparable, you know, what the job should cost. So if you have a unit price here and the price is way up here, you know something. But you can take those unit prices and say, okay, this is what it costs per tree, this is what it costs per, you know, cubic yard sidewalk.
Moving on, we're in the water end of the budget. Transmission distribution, it's just what it is. That's your pipes. Start at the top, overtime pay was cut. That one's a little bit, that's another one of those ones that can sneak up on you. I had a conversation today with one of our employees, and we're talking about what a leak costs. Depends on the severity of it. But if you take an average of say 8 to 10 leaks, and I've done it before, it's about $12,000 for us to repair, you know, an average water leak. Some are 2,000, some are 30,000. So it all depends on the severity of it. When we're out on the base, typically those are tricky out there. We're dealing with a hazardous material, very tough soil conditions.
Hazardous material.
It's asbestos pipe out there. So all our guys,
Asbestos water pipes?
asbestos water pipe, yep. Yep. 7-8 miles of it.
Drinking water?
Yeah, it's fine to drink out of, it's just you don't
Yeah,
want to.
It's only breathing, it's not,
Yeah.
Oh,
if it comes in contact with water, it doesn't breathe.
we grind it.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, so it's a procedural thing. But that's not what makes it expensive. What makes it expensive is the actual working conditions out there itself. It's just a tricky product to work
See what
with.
the town's doing now. Out there, replacing the water.
So, but anyway, that's why the OT line's there. That's, you know, that's why it is that way. We could have a good year and not have many leaks, or we could have, how many leaks we got this year, Andrew?
This year, I think we've had 8 or 9. The first year I was here, we had 28, just in the summer alone. That was a really rough year.
Winters are usually prime time.
The transition actually is the worst. So we're coming up on, once we start getting frost penetration, typically we'll get some anomalies. We had a couple with the fire at the big barn up north of us. The city pitched in and we flowed a high volume of water in a short period of time. We had 2 breaks back to back. so we induce some air into the system. So,
Well,
always,
it's one of those things Steve was talking about. If a water line breaks at 2 in the morning, you're not gonna not fix it.
you have to respond. You always have to respond.
If we have any residences without water, we have to fix it.
You gotta get it shut down. I mean, we actually had another water line, we had the one up in the woods here last week. So we had a transmission line break from the reservoir out, down in Morrisonville in the back field, which is, it was a raw water line, it's not treated water. We have redundancy on those lines, so we were able to, shut down that section and repair it, but it is something you have to do.
There's also fire protection. You get a water main out, you get a main out.
So, we'll keep moving on here because we have a lot left. Vehicle parts, again, you have, that has been cut. Materials and supplies, that is our fittings, that is our, Andrew's equipment, which is his survey equipment. And we're talking about subscriptions, updates, cleaning, calibrations, all the UFPO things he needs, the paint, the flagging.
You see the $70,000 thing? You got there with $70,000? We cut it a couple of years ago and you passed a resolution to give me the money back. So I can have that to fix the water mains.
Which line item is that on this budget?
It's 44, or 4330.
4330.
Or no, I'm sorry, it's material supply, yeah, 4330.
4330.
Wait, so, sorry, that's $43,000 short, right?
That's $43,000 short from what we, yeah,
And then
originally.
he's talking about the one
What we-
$30,000 short, that's the 73 stuff?
The buildings and grounds, is the 4340, that is, actually,
Here we go.
a majority of that is what Akey landfill monitoring, which John would have to attest to that. That's not really a line that we normally have. It's not broken down. I think there's two other minor items, but the big one is we had a third-party monitor go in there. John here? John, Akey landfill, are we still monitoring out there? Where are we at with that? We still have you penciled in for the same number.
Every year,
Is it still the 30,000?
it's more, it's close to a little over 40.
Okay, so we're gonna be short in that line also.
So what's the 4330 then? That's the material.
4330 is material and supply. That's your fittings, that's your pipe, that's your, the big portion is Andrew's equipment for UFPO work and also for surveying. For instance, his instruments will have to be cleaned and calibrated. Also, you have 4 updates that need to be sent away for on your.
Yeah, so it has firmware updates, we have to send it away. It's updated firmware, there's subscriptions every year. We have 2 AutoCAD subscriptions that have to be paid for every year. I've got paint for UFPO, which is required by New York State that we do that. I can go through close to $5,000 a year just in paint alone.
So this $43,000 cut there, what would that look like?
That'll mean that we're gonna have to transfer money.
So why was it 39,000 this year?
Excuse me, sir?
Why was it 39,000 for actual for this year?
Why was it 39,000? I can't give you the exact right now. I'd have to.
I know this year we had, typically what I do with my equipment, it's cheaper to do a 3-year contract, so we pay for it up front, versus doing it yearly. So that subscription will be up this year and we'll have to renew that subscription. So you're looking at signing for another 3-year subscription. And then I also, at the end of the year, I buy paint in bulk. I buy it 3 times a year. So I'll have another big purchase this year before year's out for paint. So you're looking at, it'll be almost $1,000 for paint.
So if it's got 43,000, you may not be able to make some of those 3-year subscriptions?
Right.
What were you, I heard you say something about that.
This is the second year. We had $70,000 in this line item back in 2019. And but a clerical error, that it was reduced. You as common council made a resolution to give us the $70,000 back, but now it's being cut again. We need about $70,000 in that line item for all stuff we buy for water, sewer repair, especially water.
Well, yeah, like I said, and what we put in, we asked for 70, but it's been cut down 43,000.
And this is because if a water main breaks, you need some piping there to repair it.
It could be pipe, it could be fittings, it could be glands, it could be, any
So,
one of a number of
For
things.
instance, we
You
had a
need some
four,
inventory or else, because you can't order water. piping
That's
or
correct.
fittings and stuff.
the water main break that we had up in the country last week, that's a 14-inch water main. The high maxes to fix that are.
They're a little over $1,000 a
Yeah, about
pop.
$1,100 to $1,200 a piece, and you need two of them to fix it. So you're talking $2,200 just in high maxes, not including the pipe, to fix that. So depending on how many breaks you have, it's gonna depend on, you know, how much money you need in that line item.
And if you didn't have it, what would happen?
Budget transfer. I mean, it's an emergency, we have to have it.
Because you can't not fix it.
Right.
Yep.
So that's what Mike's saying, this absolutely necessarily needs to be 70,000.
Yes. Okay, repairs to vehicles is minor. And repairs of vehicles, that's typically something that cannot be done internally. Usually a computer issue that we cannot diagnose or take care of with our own mechanics. And usually that's like, anyone that has a car knows that it's not like changing a spark plug. You gotta plug it into, you know, Nissan or Mercedes or whoever's computer system is, and only they can program it. So that's those type of things. That's why we have a line item for that. But we are pretty self-sufficient. Most mechanical issues, I would say 98% of them could be done in-house. Sewer administration, again, wages moved around a little bit between the funds.
What is it, this is the third time I've heard you say that, moving around to the
Yep.
funds. How's that happening?
Well, typically, what in the past is we've operated on a, what they call it, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. 1/3 of our budget comes out of water, 1/3 comes out of sewer, 1/3 comes out of general fund. We've taken, this year, the mayor's proposed budget, he's taken a little bit more percentage out of the water and sewer funds and just moved them around a little bit based on just what we talked about and what, you know, work actually happens within those funds. Now, this was established back in, when did we go to the 1/3 system, Rich?
Before my time.
Yeah.
Dan Sewer.
Yeah, Dan Stewart era.
Thing is, if you take money out of general fund and put it in water and sewer, you can reduce the general fund. But you only do a certain amount of that, you do a reduction. Because we got in trouble way back, when we were charging a lot more water and sewer than we were in general fund. We got written up by the state of New York.
When was that, 2009?
No, that was a while ago.
2007.
2000,
Yeah.
the end of, through 2007, the budget report was 2008 for the state.
And so when you move it to the sewer fund, that's basically going on the ratepayers?
Yes.
Okay. And so
Water
now,
fund is ratepayers as well, and MLP is ratepayers as well.
so these cuts going to the payroll, that we're not cutting positions, but it's going away from that 1/3, 1/3, 1/3?
Correct.
So what happened in 2007, 2008? You said you got in trouble with the state?
I didn't get in trouble with the state.
Let's say I'm moving.
The city did, and, you know, the city was, it was found that the city was overcharging the water and sewer funds by $833,000 on an annual basis. And at the same time that they see these increases to the chargebacks from the general fund to water and sewer, the water and sewer rates went up like 41% and 53% over a certain period of time, which, you know, justified being able to charge the ratepayers more to be able to fund the charges from the general fund. So the report said, do not charge back excessively, do it based on actual costs that can be verifiable and quantifiable.
So are we heading back down that road again?
Looks like,
Of overcharging the taxpayer?
in the numbers I saw, yes, that's my conclusion. And I know that if the state comes in to audit us, which they were supposed to do this year in 2020, that's been delayed because of the COVID pandemic, they're working out of their homes. When they do come in and they see that there's a dramatic jump in these things, they're gonna question it, and it's like, you know, the actual support that I can provide through a calculation is gonna be one thing, but the numbers that are there are gonna be another.
Do you think it's fair for the for the enterprise funds to pay the OPEB costs?
No, because OPEB is a future cost,
So,
so there's no way to establish a reserve so that you can debit expense and charge ratepayers or taxpayers for it, and then put a credit in this reserve account that you're gonna charge future costs to. It isn't done at this.
employee costs that occur in the water fund, for example, then are necessarily borne by the general fund, at least for the OPEB costs. Is that what you're saying? Because that's what what it sounded like you just said, that,
No, once again, OPEB costs are a future projection
mhm.
of retirement costs.
Is it fair,
Post-retirement costs.
is it fair for ratepayers to pay those OPEB costs?
Currently, no,
Why not?
because they're future costs, they're anticipated. We're actually paying each and every week and each and every month healthcare costs as they're charged for active employees and retired employees.
So then with that philosophy, the general fund bears the brunt of the OPEB costs for all the enterprise funds.
That's an incorrect conclusion too.
What is the correct thing to say? What is the correct philosophy to have on this matter?
On healthcare costs for retirees, which is the 85-year projection, it's called the OPEB calculation, it's discounted to the present value. We are paying for retirees' costs as we go, each and every year, we budget that. Half of the healthcare costs are for retirees, and we're paying those on a weekly basis, directly charged to the funds where the people who used to work.
Out of which fund?
They're,
Out of the general fund, or the water fund, or the sewer fund, or
as I was
the
saying,
MLD?
as we pay them each week.
Counselor Kelly, can I wrap my stuff up?
Yes,
guys
you
have
can.
this
We can talk about
conversation.
more, we can talk about
This
this
is-
more during the.
Yeah,
general
I don't
meeting.
think that's the appropriate time for this.
Yeah.
This is something that's,
Well, it is appropriate because you guys are paying for it, so.
But
we
what
can
I'm
talk
trying to
about
do
it
is I'm
more
trying to get through and explain these
at
numbers as
another
best I
time.
can.
Yes,
And then
that's
you
fine.
and Rich can have this conversation after. I think it'd be more appropriate.
That is fine.
That, because there's, as it is, it's, there's a lot of lines. I'm trying to give you the straight skinny on this the best I can. So
Yes.
let's gut through this and we can
Please
have that
continue.
conversation after.
Mike, can I ask a question real quick?
Yes, sir.
So going back to the street maintenance, and so the regular payroll, the DPW budget was $290,000 roughly. The current budget proposal is $221,500.
Yep.
So you're looking at about a $68.5 thousand budget adjustment. And I see here in 2019, the actual was 220. So it's going back to 2019. So was that due to someone being hired, or is that just as far as budget transfers as well?
As far as what we budget for, we have in our roster, we have certain number of employees. So we're budgeting for this number of employees, plus I believe the mayor included in his budget 3 additional employees.
3 new employees,
There are
correct?
3 new employees, which are, I think, 2 laborers and 1 maintenance for 1.
Correct, yeah.
So that's probably why you're seeing the mayor's, the 2021 is 221, but there's also, you have to take into, I don't think there's any pay raises, but there's longevities. We also have had positions that we didn't fill in previous years. The slot was there, but we could not either find a candidate or just didn't have an opportunity to calendar. We never usually work at full capacity of 40 people. A lot of times we've run a couple of years at 37, 38 people. Either they're out on injury, or we just haven't had an opportunity to get the right candidate in there.
I think usually pretty carefully calculate all the various longevity,
Yeah,
pay
I'm-
raises and everything. I don't think that's going on at
Yeah,
all.
no, but as far as the increase you see there, these are, as far as where the monies have gone, they've been moved a little bit to different funds.
So the 290 down to 221, that's due to transferring funds? Because I'm just looking. at-
I believe that to be the case, that is correct.
Okay, we have to finish up our.
Yep, we're almost,
Pretty soon, so
we're almost there, let's,
I don't wanna cut you off.
no, I wanna get this done, because I know you guys are busy. Separation pay, we're in sewer administration, separation pay was cut. I can't speak to that. Training education cut, again, Elizabeth asked at a meeting about that. We do have a certain amount of training, safety training in particular, that we have to do every year. O&M, OSHA, and OSHA certifications, the asbestos pipe that we've talked about, there's special training involved in that, and all the people have to go through it. So it is split up amongst the funds. So that has been decreased. Sanitary sewer, again, we've cut the overtime budget. Temporary pay, which that's a big one for us. That's where some of our summer temps and also people that come in to help us out. If we do run a capital project that requires oversight, that's where that money comes, and that's cut by $20,000.
Well, what were the 2020 actuals, and do you expect there's gonna be much more overtime and temporary pay over the next month in 2020?
As far as sanitary sewer, we don't know.
So you got
Okay.
actual 15.5, right? And a budget for next year of 40.
Okay?
And for temporary pay, you got an actual for this year of 1,273, and a budget for next year of 21,
Okay?
right? So it's not, we shouldn't be just looking at what you budgeted, we should also be looking at what you're actually spending in a given year.
I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm just pointing out where it's been cut. The decision on whether they're gonna approve these cuts is up to the mayor and the council.
Wait, so why was it only 1,200 last year, or this year actual, probably because of COVID, I don't know?
Are we talking about overtime pay?
We're talking about
Temporary.
Temporary, it's
Temporary,
1,300
well,
line.
we did not bring any temps on this summer because we were asked to work lean and mean, okay? We worked hard
It's
this,
also a union issue.
yeah, it's
Well,
also a union issue
It wasn't-
too.
We wanted to bring temps on, but we were prevented from bringing temps on.
Yeah.
Because there's people furloughed.
There were people furloughed, but also in an effort to try to reduce costs, you know, we came all in and we circled the wagons and we're trying to do our best. Well, we had 3 guys that basically took care of all the grounds for the whole city, which I think is pretty admirable. Now granted, some trimming was missed and some, you know, some things weren't quite up to snuff, but pretty darn good.
Well, I think we were told by the union that we could not hire a young student to mow lawns because we had furloughed an assistant prosecutor.
That is a union issue,
Alright.
yes. So that's what I have for you on the budget. I don't know, is there any other questions concerning any particular line items that maybe I can address?
I'm more curious about the entire thing.
It's
as a
5 o'clock,
whole.
Councilman Moore.
If this budget goes through as proposed, what's the impact on the
Mike always says this to me, and he said this to me for the last 6 years. The work has to get done. Okay? So, if the money's not there, okay, we'll take a long, hard look at it. You know, if it's an emergency, if a water line breaks, and there's not money in that line, the money's got to be transferred. We cannot leave it off. If it's snowing, we can't just park the plows and not plow. You know, no is not an answer for some of these things. You know, that is what it comes down to. So we're just talking transfers and we're talking about busting the budget, which, you know, since I've been here, Mike's always given money back. Does that mean that his budget's fat? I don't know. I think it's a realistic budget, as real as we can get it. We've trimmed it down. A good example is Rich has worked very hard with us on refuse tipping fees, for instance. Where tipping fees used to be a lot higher, we're pretty tight now on tipping fees. And to be honest, I don't think we're gonna make it if we go with a new one. That's one example. You know, so that, to answer your question, the work still has to get done. You know, will it be to the, you know, the superficial stuff like grounds? Those are the kinds of things that'll suffer, because that's not, you know, life safety type stuff.
Do you mean like beautification? Is that what you mean?
Beautification, and the other thing is people borrowing our time, going out and doing stuff for, you know, other departments.
like carriers and companies?
Exactly, you know, you start having 4th of July, which, you know, everyone missed, and Mayor's Cup, and all those type of things. There's a lot-
Parklets,
Parklets, all those type of things.
yep, yep.
Councilman Moore, it's past 5 o'clock.
So,
Okay, I'll just have one closing comment, because I know Public Works is going to mention this, but some of the money they saved from paving and with the CHIPS money, they were able to purchase a new trackless machine, which is very valuable for for the community, and we didn't end up borrowing money for that. And I want to commend the department on being able to do that. I know you guys wouldn't brag about it yourselves, but anyway, just moving on, sorry.
No, no
Thank you
problem.
very much, Mike.
Okay.
Report. And I guess moving on, we, under two, we have three resolutions that I'd like to move to the board.
I'll make the motion to move items 2-1, 2-2, 2-3 to the regular agenda.
Will second.
Council Moore?
Yes.
Council Gibbs?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
Since we're over time, pass on old business and new business, and entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Council Moore?
Yes.
Council Gibbs?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes, let's begin tonight's council meeting with the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Reed?
present.
Council Barbell? Council Kelly?
Here.
Council Gibbs?
Here.
Council Brody?
Here.
Council McFarland? Council Moore?
Here.
Please continue.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Common Council held on November 5th, 2020 are approved and placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office.
Moved by Councilor Brody, second by Councilor Gibbs. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Resolved that the payrolls of the various departments of the city of Plattsburgh for the week ending November 11th, 2020 in the amount of $57,868.16 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby empowered and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councilor Moore, second by Councilor Kelly. Discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. You've got your regular packet of reports. Any additional reports, beginning with governance strategy and city operations? Councilor Brody.
Nothing new to report this time.
City infrastructure, Councilor Moore.
And we just went over the budget last year, and everyone did a great job.
Finance and budget, Councilor Kelly.
Yes, tonight concludes our budget hearings, and now it's up to the council to approve the 2021 budget. I don't believe that we're going to have the necessary votes to pass the mayor's budget as it stands, but we do have, and we don't have any resolutions to change the budget. So we're sort of in a quandary here, and I would like to suggest that we not pass the budget next Thursday, but I would also like to suggest, in addition to that, that we have a couple of workshops where the council meets together and discusses the budget. Of course, these will have to be open meetings, and they'll have to be done at a time when our counselors who work can get here and participate. So Saturday seems like a good day to me, but unless you can say, well, geez, I'm off on Wednesday, or I'm off on Friday morning, or whatever. But
Are you looking for, do you want to try and schedule that right now?
well, no, not right now, not during this meeting, but I would like to conduct those couple of workshops, maybe at 2 hours each, to really hash out the budget one final time. I don't think that we have the votes necessary to pass a 15% tax reduction. And there's some good reasons for that. People are nervous that we won't be able to address infrastructure issues and other kinds of issues that we must face each and every year. So I get that. So what I would propose instead is that we reduce the budget by 5% for 3 consecutive years. Now, we all understand, I believe, that Plattsburgh City's tax rate is too high. Competing communities have tax rates in the 10% range or less. And of course, Watertown has, I'm sorry, $10 per thousand range, whereas Watertown has a tax rate for $8.22. So it's necessary for the city to get there, but how we get there is up for discussion. So I would recommend that we adopt a 5-5-5 plan, not unlike Herman Cain, you may remember, in his 9-9-9 plan. Well, the city of Plattsburgh can adopt a 5-5-5 plan in which we reduce taxes for 3 consecutive years for 5% per year. That means that we can address our infrastructure issues. I would also recommend that we set aside a fund to address infrastructure issues such as some of our challenges with water. I've been told that $50,000 a year to address infrastructure is not enough. We need more. So maybe $250,000 would be more palatable, but that would require us to make plans each and every year to repair one or more pieces of infrastructure, such as the city beach, for example. Getting it ready for operation next spring might be an excellent plan for next year. And then after that, making necessary repairs to the city or the old base marina. That would be a good project for us. Repairing the bridge that goes over to Sailor's Breach that is currently unusable. Repairing some of the buildings in our parks that are decrepit. Those are the kinds of things I would like to see us do. So I hope that the council will, you are unwilling to give the taxpayers a 15% tax cut next year, which of course would be my preference, but if you're not willing to do that, if it feels better and more comfortable to you, then let's implement the 5-5-5 plan. And that means that in 3 years, we get Plattsburgh to a place where it can compete with Glens Falls and Watertown and other North Country municipalities that seem to be currently so successful at attracting new business. I don't know if any of you've been to the village of Saranac Lake recently, but the place is just doing fantastically. All their storefronts downtown are full. They built a brand new waterfront hotel. They're using their DRI money for improvements successfully. So we need to emulate that. We need to stop saying, well, we don't want to be like them. We need to say, we're going to take that success and we're going to act on it also.
That's why we need a community development office.
Well, maybe that's something we need to do then, Mr. Brody. If you like to work on keeping the community development office intact, then, please have at it. Let's do it. What I'm saying to you is let's reduce taxes 5% per year for the next 3 years while we address some of our infrastructure problems, which to me, why are we worried about building other things when we can't take care of what we already have? So to me, it's a top priority, high priority to fix our existing infrastructure, make the city a gleaming place that we can all be proud of, and then we can talk about future developments. But I would like to suggest, I'd like for all of you to think about this 5-5-5 plan, and then I would also like to strongly suggest that you attend one of these workshops, or I'm sorry, both of these workshops that we're going to plan for a day when we're not in session. Now, those will have to be open meetings. If we're all in the same room, as you know, it has to be an open meeting. If the COVID situation gets worse, we could entertain doing it by Zoom, but it's always better when we're in the same room talking together. So,
Mike, what is your goal? Is your goal to have a budget that is up for vote by December 3rd? Is
That would be an excellent goal, Elizabeth. I'm glad you suggested that. That
So-
would be just fine.
Looking at the calendar, if you're suggesting work sessions, which are probably going to need more than 2 hours.
Could be.
And you're looking at Saturdays, are you suggesting this Saturday, the 14th, and next Saturday, the 21st? Because whatever work sessions we do, we have to be able to turn around and give it to Richard to finalize, and then put it up for a vote. So, the 20, you can do no Saturdays.
No Saturdays, no
Well, hang on a
Sundays.
second. So the 24th is a Tuesday, that's the meeting, the last meeting before Thanksgiving vacation. What about Friday after, I'm free, I'm not that it has to hinge on my schedule, but my school day on Fridays ends at approximately 2:30. I mean, I don't know, what's your availability?
I can be free any Monday, I can be free any morning. I'm committed on Tuesday night, Thursday night, Friday nights, Saturday days, and Sundays. In the mornings, I can be free anytime, I can be free in the evenings on Monday and Wednesday nights.
Monday night and Wednesday night?
Yeah, I
That's
can
what
be
you're
free those
saying.
nights. And I mean, actually, I can say, I can make those days anytime free.
Well, if we're looking at next week, Patrick, I don't know what your schedule is either. Monday the 16th, Wednesday the 18th. Is that something you could do, Mike? I called you Mike.
Are you talking?
Sorry. I'm saying, that was actually directed at Steve. I called him Mike. Sorry. 16th and 18th?
What time are we talking here, Elizabeth?
I don't know. I mean, I'm available. You guys know I'm available around 4 o'clock, Monday and Wednesday.
So, I mean, on Wednesday, I'm gonna be in St. Lawrence County in the afternoon, so probably not, unless you're either having some like issues with the pandemic. Maybe that won't happen. On Monday, I'm free around 1 o'clock.
Well, you know I can't do that. I'm working.
One of the live streams.
Can you do a Saturday?
Zoom. I mean,
Patrick?
it's our live stream, so.
I mean, I know that excludes you, Steve, but,
They use it, or we use it, whichever.
I mean, I don't want to either, but I want to get this done.
I
And
could do a Saturday.
We can use it both.
so can you do Monday, the 16th?
If you have to have it. I
Me?
don't know if
Yes.
you need it.
I have a court appearance at 3:30. At 3, maybe, at 3:15, somewhere around there. My court appearance is at 3:15.
Okay. That's where it gets tricky. Trying to get people in.
I can be free anytime on Monday.
Well, I know, but I mean, I work.
I mean, it's 5 o'clock to 6, 5 to 7.
But we need two,
7 to
we're,
9.
I remember when I came on the council, there was a shortfall, and we had to do a budget, like an emergency all-day budget day. It took all day. That was like my first year. So this is gonna take more than 2 hours, and we have to understand it's gonna take more than 2 hours.
Are you talking about one day or 2 different days?
Mike is suggesting 2 separate work sessions, at least 2 hours each. What I'm saying is, in order to get that budget prepared by Richard and up for a vote by December 3rd, we have to remember that the 24th is a council meeting, but it's the Tuesday. Our offices, is City Hall closed the 25th, that Wednesday?
No.
No, Wednesday, the 25th?
I don't believe so, no.
Thanks.
You are open. I mean, it doesn't give Richard a lot of time.
What does Richard need time for?
He's gotta create the budget based on whatever.
If I have to be missing somebody one of the days and another person missing another of the days,
Comes from people on.
because it doesn't sound like we're gonna be able to connect, I don't know. We really need to do this.
Oh, I agree. I think we should meet Saturday, the 14th. That's
I'm
this
retired,
Saturday.
I can meet anytime.
I'm sorry?
I'm retired.
Yeah, I know, it's, Patrick, Steve and I are the ones that are
It's
trying
You
to.
guys and Patrick who.
I think we should meet Saturday, the 14th. And I know that excludes you, Steve, I'm really sorry, but it's an unencumbered chunk of time, and there's a lot on the line.
Yes, there is.
And I think that we should
Saturday the 14th?
I think, yeah, and I
First
think it'd be
one.
good if we could declare the days and times now, and that way
That's
Beth
this
has enough time to
Saturday, right?
advertise.
And how about a weekday that Counselor Brody can attend?
What about the
maybe
18th? That's a Wednesday, that's next
on a
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
I don't know, I'm asking these guys. If we did some,
My Wednesdays can be all free, my Mondays can be all free.
what about you, Patrick?
I mean, I have court, but I'll come when I can.
4 o'clock on Wednesday?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock, I'm asking Patrick, can you do 4 o'clock Wednesday the 18th?
No.
No, so that's the thing.
I think they said Wednesday morning. Does that not work for you, Elizabeth?
No, I work. I work Wednesday
We
morning.
can do Monday in the afternoon, if that's what you would, and,
What time?
3. I'll be late, but, I don't care.
And you can do Monday at 3.
You do Monday anytime you want.
Okay, so what time on the 14th, which is this Saturday, what time can we do? Can we agree on?
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock?
Yeah. Let's get it over with
I
so we have
know.
something of our Saturday left.
Okay, so November 14th, 10 a.m. And then what was the next day we agreed on? Monday the 16th?
Monday the 16th, the public safety panel is using the room at 4 on the live stream, and then after that, the zoning board is meeting, so the live stream is used. So that's-
Well, I mean, if we're meeting,
If you're meeting in person, the live stream's not required. If you're doing it remotely, then
You won't be in the
right,
room.
we don't need the live stream.
The space.
We just need to be open to the public. Could we have the meeting in the community, the old chambers? And we'd adhere to open meetings. I mean, we wouldn't have the live stream, but we would have the meeting open to the public. So that would adhere to open meetings law. So Monday, the 16th, what's the time? Are we saying 3 o'clock?
No, Monday's the 16th.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I thought you said the 15th, I'm sorry.
Is that what we're agreeing to? Monday, the 16th at 3?
At 3 o'clock?
At 3. And we're gonna meet in the old council chambers? Is that what we're saying?
You're not gonna get much public in there.
That's okay. We're only allowed to have 10 in a setting anyway, right? I think that's right.
That just applies to residents.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it sounds like we have our days and times set.
Do we need anybody else in attendance besides the council? Mayor, it would be nice if you could be there as part of the council.
Okay?
And Mr. Marks, would you be available to attend these 2 meetings?
Sure.
Okay.
Can we increase your overtime?
That's gonna reduce my minimum wage.
Okay. So we're set then, 10 and 3, 10 on the 14th, 3 on the 16th. Is that correct? Everybody's comfortable with that? All right, thank you for going through that exercise. I have one more thing to say, and that is that since we won't be having, any budget discussions on the 19th, I've decided to turn the Finance Committee meeting over to Ira Barbell, and he has a presentation he'd like to make on city operations. He's been sitting on it for a long time, and I talked with him today, and he'd like to do it next Thursday. So for the Finance Committee meeting, it will be hosted by Ira Barbell, and he will make a presentation on city operations that are related to finance, as you will see, but he's asked to do this, so I'm perfectly all right with it. There is one last thing we were talking about a little bit in the infrastructure committee, and that is OPEB costs. I believe they were recalculated in the mayor's budget according to a formula that you agreed with, Mr. Marks, at least when you talked with the finance committee about it a few weeks ago. You agreed that it needed to be changed, and that you were okay with that, and now apparently you're not, or
No, for one department, it was true.
for which department is that?
It was for the retired employees in the finance department, and Chamberlain's department,
And which department?
Chamberlain's department.
Chamberlain's department,
Yeah,
your
there's
department?
about,
Okay.
11 people that are retired there. And they've been charged to the city of Chamberlain's department consistently, which means that in the healthcare allocation, they're charged to the general fund. So here's what the healthcare allocation looks like.
Can I keep this?
Sure. This is what I sent to the mayor on September 29th after we had a discussion in his outer office about these charges. And I said, yeah, you know, the retirees aren't charged back to any department because annually, the active people, they get charged back at the end of the year through the allocation of the costs for water and sewer and MLD based on the data processing chargeback, which covers 4 people. That's the clerks downstairs. And then there's also overhead charges that are charged back to MLD and water and sewer in 2 separate calculations besides the data processing calculation. So what I agreed to was the people highlighted here in gray. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 6 people haven't been charged over the years to, say, water, sewer, and MLD. Now, if you look at the allocation that's proposed here, which is based on the year-end overhead allocation of the costs, they wouldn't apply any at all to data processing because none of these people worked in data processing. The people that are retired from the city Chamberlain's department that worked in data processing are both deceased. So they've been deceased for several years. These people just worked in the main finance office and would be allocated based on the overhead allocation for water, sewer, and MLD. It's a year-end calculation. So this was all I agreed to, which would be an additional chargeback. It amounts to about, I think it was in the neighborhood of $70,000 combined annually for water, sewer, and MLD. So, and it would happen during the weekly charges for healthcare. It wouldn't be part of any year-end calculation adjustment or inter-fund revenue. That's what I agreed to that day.
Okay, thank you, Rich, appreciate
All right.
that.
And once again, the OPEB costs are future costs. They're a future calculation based
Yeah,
on.
I still don't understand why we can't charge those to the funds that incurred
Well, we
those
do.
charges.
If you look at this is just one small.
And not just in your department, but across the entire enterprise.
We do.
Okay, then if you say we do you agree with that, Mayor? Do any changes need to be made?
Changes would need to be made. He's talking about one allocation formula. There's actually a second allocation formula of the overhead for the variety of general fund departments, not just the data processing.
Okay,
That's the
now
second allocation that he does as well.
I thought when we had sat together and met a couple of weeks, 3 weeks ago or something, that we had determined that the second allocation was proper. But do you agree with that?
The weekly healthcare costs are allocated based on where the departments are that the active people are working and where the retired people did work.
Okay,
And that's how they're charged each and every week.
we're not gonna solve this at tonight's meeting and come to a full understanding. And by understanding, I mean my understanding. So let's get together just as soon as possible.
I would recommend you and I get together and I can show you all the year-end allocations that we do.
Yes.
And all the weekly allocations that we do for
Yeah.
healthcare based
Well-
on actual costs
for retirees and active employees, not future costs projected 85 years out and discounted to the present value.
A big part of the savings in the mayor's budget were to reallocate some costs from the general fund to the various enterprise funds.
We already do that. We just never included healthcare as one of those costs.
We never included.
No, we always do. We always do. The only healthcare that was not
Okay.
reallocated.
Right.
So we
from the
have a
general fund was
disagreement here.
any
One
kind of
person says yes. one person
Retiree
says
allocation
no.
for the finance department.
Let's get together.
That's
and
all I
talk
ever
about
agreed
it.
to on September 29th. I agreed that we could not recognize OPEB costs because it's something that you have to recognize as a future cost, book as a reserve, adjust that reserve each year, and that's how it adjusts your expense on a going basis. We pay as we go for our healthcare
Okay,
costs for
Mr. Marks,
active and
we're
retired
not going to
employees.
solve this tonight, so I'd like to ask.
Well, I know,
to-
you don't want to listen to the rest of it. I
What?
get that.
No,
It's
you're
okay.
wrong. You're wrong, and I
know
would.
that's what you're trying to tell me all along, is I'm wrong, but.
No,
you're just
no,
not
no, no,
listening.
no. What I'm trying to tell you is that I want to understand it,
Then I think you should come down and sit down with me and go over it.
and we will do that. And Mr. Marks, I want to make one thing perfectly clear to you for today, tomorrow, and for posterity. You work for us. We employ you. You will do what you are directed to do by this council.
Mike, I think that's a little
We
unnecessary
appreciate your
here.
input, we
Come on.
appreciate your input greatly. But in the end, we're your boss, okay? Are you understanding that? Do you understand that concept, that
I think the taxpayers are.
we direct your
I think that's a
activities
fiduciary responsibility
and we
to them.
represent the taxpayers, sir? So please, I would ask you at this point in time to have a seat. Let's get back to our meeting.
Richard.
We
this
can
is yours.
discuss
You left
this
it.
at another time.
That's yours. Thank you.
And we will. OPEB is very, very important because I calculate that it costs $600,000 per employee for OPEB costs. And every time we bring on an employee, we send a bill to our grandchildren for an additional $600,000. And that's why it is so important that we keep that in the forefront of our minds. We have not talked enough about OPEB in our budgeting and in our financial discussions over the years. It is time that we do that. And that concludes everything I wanted to say for my committee. Thank you.
Public Safety, Councilor Duke.
I have nothing to report.
Plattsburgh Public Library, Councilor McFarland.
No, Dave.
And MLD Board President, Councilor McFarland.
No, Dave.
Resolved, the reports as listed are hereby ordered received, and any written reports are placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office. Moved by Councilor Brody and second by Councilor Moore. Discussion? All in favor?
Bye.
Opposed? Passed. No correspondence or recommendations from boards at this time. Please continue.
Resolved that the bills ordered by the common council for the week ending November 13th, 2020, in the amount of $1,549,781.10 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby authorized and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councilor Moore, second by Councilor Kelly. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Passed. At this time, I'd like to invite any members of the public to please come address the council on any items on the agenda tonight. Seeing none, please continue.
Motion to remove item 7A from the table.
Moved by Councilor Brody, second by Councilor Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
We do a roll call for?
Yes.
Roll
Council
call.
Kelly?
Yes.
Council Gibbs?
Yes.
Council Brody?
Yes.
Council McFarland?
No.
Council Moore?
Yes.
Did we get an answer on this?
Yep, so as you recall, last week there was a gentleman, who I believe was in the alarm industry, and suggested that this local law was in contravention to a state provision. Even though there's no question and answer, in response, I made a brief update, thank you, Councilor McFarland, advising that my research was showing that the general business law regulates the business of installation, service, and maintenance of these devices, whereas this local law is focusing on the end user, the property owners. I have since confirmed that is the case. The law that he was citing was referencing the business end of it, and does say that New York State has a sole jurisdiction to regulate and license the alarm system companies, whereas this local law is focused on property owners to make sure that their alarm systems are in place. So my opinion back last week stands till today, that this local law is not in contravention to that state provision. Whether it's good policy or not is up to the council. Councilor Barbell was active, so if anyone would like his further input, that's fully appropriate. But I'm certainly satisfied that we are not required to obtain state permission to adopt this local law.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
No.
Counselor Brody?
No.
Counselor McFarland?
I know this was the IRS law that he proposed, and I had some questions for him on it, so honestly, I'll move the table.
Move the table, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Councilor Moore, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Motion to remove item 7B from the table.
Moved by Councilor Gibbs, second by Councilor McFarland. Roll call.
Counselor Barbell? Oh, sorry. Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Brody?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Discussion on the item itself.
I forget why this was tabled, yeah, so could you explain what's different and why we're ready to vote on it tonight?
Last time we tabled because the property owner was still reviewing the bids due to
Oh,
the
that's-
difference of some bids come in with just labor and others including labor and materials. After review, they do have a low bid from KAR Construction and Electrical. And so they are the low bidder that the property owner will begin work with, assuming council approval.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Brody?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yeah.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore, the common council proves that the mayor is authorized to sign a professional services agreement between the city of Plattsburgh and KES Inc. in the amount of $2,684 for on-site screening of petroleum impacted soil and volatile organic compounds discovered during excavation work for the new sewer main in the Betty Little Arts Park, collection and laboratory testing of impacted soil samples, transport of impacted soil to Franklin County landfill, and preparation of a report to be submitted to New York State DEC. The city will be billed separately by Franklin County landfill for disposal of all impacted soil. The cost of these services shall be paid through the DRI Streetscape Improvements and Waterfront Access Grant.
Moved by
I'm sorry, I think that.
Councilor Brody, second by Councilor Gibbs. Discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Brody?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yeah.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore, the common council approves that the mayor is authorized to sign a second amendment to the city's DRI Streetscape and Riverfront Access Project contract with Saratoga Associates to reallocate budgeted fees within that contract from Task 10, New York State DOS review and revision, and Task 14, construction inspection, to Task 13, preparation of bid docs and bid verification to address scope changes. Realized since the start of the project, there will be no change to the overall contract amount.
Moved by Councilor Gibbs, second by Councilor Brody. Discussion.
Yeah, so what's this resolution asking for exactly?
Sure.
So this is in relation to Saratoga Associates contract for their consulting work associated with DRI's streetscape improvement and riverfront access project. When they submitted their original proposal, it had each task in the contract broken down by a certain dollar value. Those were estimates based on what was known at the time the contract was signed, but of course, as the project has moved forward, some adjustments have to be made here and there. For instance, task 10, which is notes in response to Department of State comments on bid documents. We've received very few, so they don't anticipate needing very much in the future, so they've reduced that considerably. They have increase the costs associated with preparation of bid documents because, of course, rather than a single bid round for the Betty Lovell Arts Park, we had an initial bid round that came in well above budget. Then we decided to break out the construction work into two phases, so that required preparation of two separate sets of bid documents. So that cost allocation has been increased substantially to account for that.
But there's no change in the overall contract.
No, the overall contract amount stays the same. We're just shifting money from one task to another within that contract.
Any further questions? Roll call?
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs,
Yes.
Counselor Brody,
Yes.
Counselor McFarland,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves that the mayor is authorized to sign change order number 1 for the city of Plattsburgh parking lot improvements contract with Luck Brothers in the amount of $16,704.75.
Moved by Councilor Gibbs, second by Councilor.
Well, I'll second it so that we can discuss it.
Second by Councilor Kelly. Discussion.
What are we getting for $16,000? Why is it costing $16,000 more to build the parking lots?
So the change order number 1 actually covers all of the minor scope changes that have taken place over the course of the project. There was a field directive number 1 that made minor changes to the placement of sewer infrastructure and sidewalks. So there were some credits to the city on that side, but also some add-ons. The second field directive had to do with previously abandoned and unidentified building foundations that were found when excavation work took place on the Glens Falls site. There was also the addition of a replacement sidewalk along the Oak Street side of the Pavone lot, which had not been previously included in the scope of work, but given the state of that sidewalk, it was deemed necessary to fix it because of the additional vehicle traffic that would be traveling over it once the parking lot was completed. And the bulk of the change order, approximately $10,924, that is for the installation of a guide rail for safety purposes at the eastern end of the Broad Street parking lot. That was not included in the original scope because at the time the bids were released, we knew that NYSEG was doing a considerable amount of restoration work on the riverbank. We did not know exactly what the riverbank would look like when they were done. So we always had put this decision in reserve when that work was complete. But once it was complete, we took a look at it and decided from a safety perspective, there absolutely has to be some sort of barrier there to keep cars from driving straight off the lot and down the bank into the river.
We wouldn't want
And
that.
that's it.
We wouldn't want that.
No, we would not.
So these are all additional costs that they're not being paid by any grant, they're being paid by the taxpayers, correct?
The argument could be made that it would be covered by the FRB grant. That grant was somewhat non-specific about which particular charges the Pavone lot, which specific charges within the parking lot construction project would be charged to that. So it could either go to the FRB grant or it could be borne by the taxpayers, yes.
But if you put all the grant money added up, it doesn't come nearly enough to pay for the 2 parking lots. So any addition comes out of the taxpayers.
That's true, yes.
So has this work been done?
Everything has been done except the installation of the guardrail. That is currently being fabricated, and it is scheduled for installation within the next 2 weeks or so.
So, but it sounds like $16,704.75 of taxpayer money is being committed. So I guess I'm trying to wonder, if only the council can commit funds, how could that have happened?
Well, it's difficult in the middle of a construction project to tell a team to stop for a week when they find an unknown building foundation in order for me to come before the council and ask them for the additional money in order to effect the demolition of those buildings. So it's just something that in the course of a construction project, the scheduling considerations require a decision quicker than it's often able to get from the council.
Do you have an email you might have sent me on this?
On what specifically?
On these decisions that need to be made?
Possibly.
Could you produce that for me?
I could take a look.
Maybe we should then table this until we have additional information.
I'll leave that to the council.
The work's already been done.
Work's already been done.
Contractor's going to be paid for his work.
Yes.
Well, no, you said the guardrail is being fabricated and the work hasn't been done.
Yes, but it's being fabricated, which means the work's already started.
Okay.
And that's the one where we don't want them to go into the river.
I guess, you know, every time this happens, every time there's a change order, you always have to ask the question, well, why? Why wasn't this spec'd out in the original bid? And I think this is a good example. How come they didn't know that a guardrail needed to be there in order to prevent a car from going into the river?
Well, as I said, we were coordinating with NYSEG, who was rehabilitating the riverbank at the same time. We had a general idea of what the bank would look like when they were done, but we didn't know exactly. So we wanted to wait until that work had been completed to make a determination as to what sort of barrier, if any, was going to be required.
Do you believe, Mr. Miller, that this will be the last expense that the city must bear in this project?
I do.
Does this need a capital project revision for this capital project?
Yes, it does.
So we should do that too.
Yep.
Because that provides the additional appropriation to spend this. I didn't realize that we had to do one for them.
So I guess my concern is that really only the mayor or the council should be approving additional expenditures of unbudgeted taxpayer money. And so to be confronted, and that just doesn't apply to your department, it applies to any department that spends and then comes and asks for permission to spend. I think we're supposed to do things the other way around, ask for permission to spend and then spend. And once in a while there's an emergency. So in those cases, the department head will often come to the mayor and say, listen, this is an emergency, you go back to bat for us. Or can we reallocate funds with our department, et cetera? We'll do that once in a while. But we can't responsibly budget if the common council loses control of budgeting and instead is delegated to non-elected officials.
Any other questions from the council I can answer?
Roll call.
Council Kelly?
No.
Council Gibbs?
Yes.
Council Brody?
Yes.
Council McFarland?
Yeah.
Council Moore?
Well, I'm gonna say we should have done this correctly, but I guess we will at the end be responsible for this bill, so I'll say yes.
No trouble request at this time. Are there any resolutions for initial consideration? Any new business and council reports?
Yes,
So,
Mayor, I have some new business. I would like to talk a little bit about the Arnie Pavone parking lot. We have discussed in previous meetings that we'd like to see a sign there designating that as the Arnie Pavone parking lot. And I had an opportunity to speak with one of the employees at Arnie's restaurant today, who has come up with a suggested text for that sign. So I'd like to have the council take a look at that. I haven't actually seen it myself, and as soon as I have it, I'll pass it on to you. But I'd like to see that text or something similar to it incorporated into whatever sign is finally placed there.
Councilman Kelly?
Yes.
Just briefly?
Mr. Miller?
I have had discussions with Rook Brothers, who has had discussions with Phelps Guide Rail. They've actually volunteered to
Is this all one?
pass it around.
Pass it around.
They've actually volunteered to
Oh, okay.
fabricate a sign for the
Steve?
Arnie Pavone Memorial Parking Plaza. It's somewhat basic, and of course it adheres to DOT signs, but the discussion I wanted to have with the council is whether you would prefer us to pursue perhaps a more elaborate sign with some additional history of Arnie's and the family, and have something historical that the public can see exactly what the background and the context is.
You mean like a plaque?
Like a plaque,
Like
a
that.
historical plaque, something like that, and it's, we could probably get the DRI's marketing, signage, and branding grant to pay for that.
I know, we got an email months ago from, one of the old, when we used to run the Witherhill Hotel there. And I think something along those lines should go there if it's a plaque. But I definitely want a sign there, absolutely. I talked to the
Yeah, me too.
Pavone family, about this a few weeks back when I brought it up. I don't know that I love this one, but so let's have discussions on that, definitely.
Mayor, do I have your okay to coordinate with the family and?
Well, certainly be wonderful, great.
Okay,
Thanks, Matt.
thank you.
Matt, the employee's name is Jessica. I don't know her last name, but, yes. If you'd like to talk to her, she sort of coordinated it at the restaurant, so.
Beth, I do have a request, ahead of our Saturday meeting. Could you print the June mayor's budget and provide copies for all of us? Is that something you could do for us? Here?
Well, certainly, yeah.
Thank you.
I have two questions. If we are gonna go with the 5-5-5 plan, won't the budget now have to be revised all over again? As far as reflecting a 10% increase back to the departments that it was deducted from?
No,
Why?
no. Our budget adjustments can help us arrive at that figure or close to it. We
So
don't
we'll
have to
give
do the
10% back
budget
to each
over
department
again.
then?
We
All right.
don't.
I just wanted, it just seemed like the easiest way to give everybody back 10% what you took.
The easiest thing to do would be to pass the mayor's budget as it stands, but obviously we don't have the votes for it, so we can figure out what we can add back into the budget and why, so that we arrive at a 5% tax decrease for our taxpayers. That shouldn't be all that hard to do, Steve. I think we can do it. No need to revise the budget.
And the second thing I wish to do is I wish, as a council member, to apologize to Mr. Marks.
I'm not apologizing to Mr.
I know
March.
you're not, but I am.
Mr. March reports to us
Yeah, but.
and
be
should
nice.
act accordingly.
Be nice. Don't be rude. Don't be crude. Don't be mean.
Well,
And I want to
I don't think I
apologize to
am.
myself, at least, to Mr. Marks, for the way he was treated and spoken to.
Thank you.
He is a steward of the city of North Villages. He cares, he watches the numbers, and I remember sitting here listening to budgets that other people made that were millions of dollars off, and he pointed out errors and said, no, no, no. And here we are, 8 months later, his numbers are right, and the other numbers are wrong. Not only that, we're $400,000 ahead.
They're really not my numbers, they're the city's numbers, they're the actual.
Actual numbers.
I have no skin in the game to change anything, exaggerate anything, or change anything. Just in the numbers, as was voted, especially in what's called the fund integrity, the accounting process. The state of New York makes certain it's here.
Well, what I said to Mr. Marks is what I would say to any employee of the city who attempts to butt heads with the city council. That is not in your best interest to do that. We are your leadership. You listen to us, you carry out our wishes. You know, if we're doing something wrong and you want to collaborate, you let us know. We'll work together on it. But To stand up here in a meeting and berate your city council is not appropriate.
I wasn't
I'm sorry.
berating you.
That's
I was
not what
asking
happened
you
at
to
all.
Stop interrupting me.
Yeah, well,
And I know you don't want to hear what I have to say, so that's why you.
I really don't at this point, so I'd ask you to stop, please. Thank you.
So
Any
I
additional
would like to
council
say
report?
something. I'd like to say something. This has been a very difficult time for everyone, taxpayers included. I've been getting phone calls, emails, text messages, messages through Facebook, Facebook posts. I've even been stopped in my driveway coming back from the grocery store. I'm getting stopped on walks with my son by my constituents. This is a very tense and very difficult time for everyone. And I think it's really important to recognize the hard work of everybody who's involved in the process and to be kind to each other, which is the most important thing of all. This is what I tell my students, and this is what I tell my sons, that no matter what, kindness is what matters. And I think we have to appreciate that we have a lot of employees who are very tense, very concerned. We've got people who don't even know if they're going to be employed for Christmas. So let's take a deep breath and recognize that. And let's treat each other with civility and get this done. Get this done, do it right by the taxpayers. That's the only thing that matters. And be kind, so.
Any additional new business or council report?
I just wanted to make sure that Public Works had gotten to say only, and we cut it kind of short at the end, but if you had anything else to add after the meeting, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. I just wanted to make sure that you guys got, say everything.
No, we're okay, we're good right now.
Okay, very good.
Thank you for your presentation. It was very thorough.
Okay,
Yes.
give us an opportunity to respond to some decision that you might make on a weekend. I want that, I want to be told about what decision to make about our budget.
Well, there won't be any votes, it's.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I want to have input, okay?
yeah. Okay.
This time, are there any closing public comments from the public on any issue of mutual concern?
Mike, can you please ask anyone out in the hall if they would like to address the
Sure.
council? Oh, thank you, Mike.
Good evening, council members. My name is Joan Jansen. I'd like to thank you this evening for reconsidering your budget. The 15.5 or the 14.5% was not realistic, and I hope that you will be working towards a more realistic budget. I am hoping that you will take into consideration the employees of the city. Thank you very much, Councilor Gibbs, for pointing that out, that everybody is on edge these days, and if you're not sure that you're going to have a job come Christmas time, that's especially the true. So thank you for that. I applaud your decision to have working sessions, and I'd like to suggest that you invite Mayor-elect Chris Rosenquist. He is going to have to live with the consequences of the budget that you put together, and I think his input should be considered in what you're doing. And so if you haven't made a point of inviting him, I would suggest that you do so. Mayor Kelly, Councilor Kelly, you do work for us. I'm a taxpayer, and I just think
You're
that...
not permitted to address any specific member of the board. You are permitted and encouraged to make suggestions to improve operations.
Okay, I've got a suggestion to
You are not
improve
permitted to
operations.
address any one member of the council. Thank you.
I've got a suggestion, and my first suggestion is, as Councilor Gibbs suggested, civility. I think a bullying behavior is inappropriate for any council member, I might say.
Are you
And
addressing that to me?
behalf on the residents.
Are you addressing that to me? If you are, then you need to stop. You need to stop right here.
I'm saying to the council, I don't think you should
And
bully anybody.
We can call an end to your comments if you can't keep it.
And on behalf of residents who object to bullying, I think that apologies are necessary when it happens.
And finally, my last suggestion is, if you were truly, last week, you talked about efficiencies and how we need to get more efficient. The council could operate much more efficiently if you would get rid of the ridiculous rule that you have in place about council heads not being able to speak with department heads. That especially during budget preparation time, I think that's vitally important. I think it's important at other times. I think you waste a lot of time going through the mayor's office, that's something that's absolutely unnecessary. And I recommend that you look seriously at striking that down to make operation more efficient and more smoothly. Thank you.
Just to be clear, that is a misinterpretation of the rule. The rule is to go through the appropriate committee, and I believe that there were a couple of councils that had questions on finance and worked with that committee chair to resolve those questions this week. That's the principle that we've been adhering to, not to somehow deny, and I know this was misreported, to somehow deny access of individual councilors to department heads. We've got a committee structure in place, and we just simply ask you to continue to use that committee structure, as you always have up until very recently. Any other members of the public who please like to come and address the council? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Councilor McFarland, second by Councilor Gibbs. Roll call.
Council Kelly?
Yes.
Council Gibbs?
Yes.
Council Brody?
Yes.
Council McFarland? Council Moore?
Yes.
You know, work on time for a change.